Hi, welcome to the Bubble IO learning series by No Code UCLA. We'll be teaching you the basics of building tech products without having to write a single line of code. We hope that this will help to break the barrier to entry for tech entrepreneurship and enable students to build whatever ideas they can think of. This video will teach you how to use basic design elements on Bubble by creating a video streaming website called NetFlax. The first, most basic element is text. You can find it on the left-hand side here under Visual Elements. You can click and place, or click and drag. Now let's start with the simple header bar. So I'm going to move this, drag and drop over here, and I'm just going to rename this NetFlax. And let's see, what else is usually on the header? We can also add TV shows. Movies. And let's say trending. Next, let's do a little bit of landing page marketing. Best way Now, with NetFlax, they usually display a big featured movie at the top of their page. So let's go ahead and do that. Sci-fi. Right. Next, they have a top 10 list. And they have a continue watching list. And a trending list. And etc. Now we have all of our text, but the sizes are a little bit off. To change that, we click on each text. Now we have two options. One is to use preset styles like this, and we'll go over these in a later video. We can use larger presets for text that we want larger. Just like that. The second option is to remove the preset style. So remove style and just customize it however we want. This includes sizing, bolding, underlining, text alignment, and whatever you want. You can go crazy with it. All right. Once you've finished up all your text elements, it's time to add the visual components. To add pictures to your Bubble app, you use the image element, which is also here on the left under visual elements. Just like with text, you can either click or you can click and drag. You can resize them however you want. Once it's placed, click on it to add the picture that you want. Ignore the dynamic image option for now. We'll cover that later. There are more editing settings that aren't as important, but if you want to try them out, so for every setting on Bubble, if you hover over them, you'll see a little option to see reference. This will open up a guide to that specific feature. And this is your best friend for figuring out what things do on Bubble. So I clicked on see reference for fixed width and it immediately took me to this. And it has a little explanation here. Pretty much any time on Bubble that you're confused about, what something does or you're going to try something new, just always just hover over it and then click see reference and it'll pretty much give you an in-depth guide of what you need to do. Otherwise, you can also just type in, your question and then bubble.io on Google, and there's a really in-depth forum that you can use to figure out all the answers. The last set of useful options for images are border styles and roundness. This lets you add a border to the element, as well as make the corners round. So I'm going to add a, double lined border. I'm going to make it really wide, make it, bright red. All right, and now I'm going to make it round. Here, like this. So as you can see, now there's rounded corners on images. Rounding for corners is pretty popular in UI UX nowadays, so it's very useful to have this as an option. Okay, finally. Finally, let's say that you want to switch the orders of the rows of the movies. To do that right now, you need to click and drag every element individually. But that's super slow and pretty inconvenient. What Bubble lets you do instead is to group elements that need to stick together in a group. To do that, there's two main ways. If you know ahead of time that you're going to need a group, you can just go down here on the left to containers and then select group and just click and drag just like the other elements. Then once it's placed, you can place the other elements inside. When you're doing that, make sure that the borders turn red so that way you know you're placing it correctly inside the container. Otherwise, let's go this. Otherwise, if your elements are already on the page, like these are, you can do Control click. I believe it's Command click on the MacBook, and then you can right click. Sorry. And click Group Elements in a group right here. Now, once you have your elements grouped, you can click anywhere within the group. So make sure you're not clicking on an element. You can click anywhere in the group and drag the whole thing around. And now, it's much easier to move these whole groups without having to move each element individually. You could also place groups within groups. So I'll put this inside, and now I can move all these around at the same time. And then if I need to take this out later, I can put it here. But try not to use too many, or else things will get really confusing when you're moving things around. So for example, sometimes things will get mixed up and you're not sure, if you can put them, where to put them. So now this was the first part of the design video. Now you know how to use the fundamentals of visual elements. So the first part of your design assignment is to create a new app from your account and create a finished version of this Netflix landing page. You can choose whatever fonts, colors, etc. that you would like. You can do a complete redesign if you want. Pretty much anything that you want to do, just go wild, go crazy. This is more of just like a fun exercise for you to learn the basics. But for whatever you do, just make sure that you're using text and you're using images, and that you're also, you can try out any new visual elements if you'd like. So, for example, this is a shape. It's just kind of like, like a group, except you can't place anything inside of it. Yeah. You can also use, for example, like an icon. So this is like a bunch of preset images so that you don't have to, search for them if they're already on here. Yeah, so just, try out these visual elements if you'd like to. And lastly, make sure that you show a logical use of grouping. So, for things like this, which are all in a row, put them all in a group. Or, if it's something like this, where it's like a big, kind of like display thing, make sure that's in a group, because these, this picture and this information goes together. You could do the same thing, with like this, or, something, whatever you do, just redesign it however you like, however it makes sense, or however it looks fun to you, and use elements and grouping. And that will be the first part of your assignment.